Hi there guys, how's it going? So today is going to be like a two-part video, and I'm going to split the video in the timestamps, if that makes sense. First part, we're going to look at this pressure plate with the suspension and a little bit of logic. Second part, we're going to look at the bearing pressure plate with an idea that a couple of you have sent me about putting the door in the middle. So first off, I'm going to show you how to build this suspension pressure plate and how we attach the logic and a little bit of a hiccup that you might come across. So we're going to talk you through how to do it. So it's really simple. All you're going to need is that one suspension piece. It can be the sports suspension or it can be, you know, the off-road suspension, but you only need one. Then you need to put your plate on it, and for me, like I say, I prefer to do a 3x3 plate. I'm going to do this all in scrap wood so that you guys can see what it's like, and then I'll change the pressure plate to be concrete just in case you use a heavier material. You can see the issues that you're going to come up with. So imagine that's our plate, and then this is like our pathway up to it, if you like. So I'll just spray our plate so we know where it is and what colour we are. So there's our plate. Then I'm going to have a bit of a space here so we're not straight into the door, and then I'm going to put the door sort of like here, if this makes sense. And I'm going to do it a little bit like this. So I'm going to put my pistons below my door just so that my door opens when the pistons extend, okay? So just a quick door. You guys can make your own doors however you like. I just want to do this for example. So basically, pressure plate on the suspension, okay? So that's the basic of our pressure plate. Then we need our sensor, and our sensor needs to look up at the pressure plate. That only needs to be one range if you're using the small suspension. If you're using the bigger suspension, you're going to need to put it to 2. So we're going to leave it at 1. It's on button. That's basically it, okay? And now comes the interesting part. So if I plug that sensor straight into the pistons, and I make my pistons go to 3, and I'll put my pistons on the fastest setting. These are only level 1 pistons. This is what will happen. You see how quick it goes? So obviously you want to try and slow this down, so we're going to use some logic. Now, for logic, I like to use 3 logic gates, and I do them in a memory bit kind of position. So what you need to do is just get 3 logic gates and hook them all up. I set it out in a triangle just so it's easy for me to understand. Some of you guys might know this already, some of you guys might be completely new to it. So if you've got it set up like this, doesn't matter which way you do your loop, whether you do it right or left, just make sure they're all looped. And then you want your top one to be an OR gate and the bottom ones to be NOR gates. Okay? Now you want to run your sensor into one of those 2 NOR gates. Doesn't matter which one. But if you can, put it into the one that lights up. This will make things a little bit easier for you. The reason being, this is going to activate the circuit. So when we do this, it activates the circuit. Now here is the first problem that you'll come across. This pressure pad is too light to send a full impulse to the circuit. So you get this problem. Now if you connect this up to your pistons, and your pistons come off that top block, off that OR block, you're going to get this happen. And that's going to be no use to anybody. So there are many ways that you can fix this, and I've not been able to find one using logic. What you need to do is basically extend the pulse that comes from the sensor. And I've tried many ways to do this to no success, but the easiest way that I found to do it, if you're using scrap wood, just add 1 extra block. So that extra little bit of weight will be enough to make this whole circuit work properly. See, it doesn't blink anymore? Awesome. So now if you've got this set up like this, again your pistons come out of the top OR, and our sensor went into the illuminated area. So again, I'll show you. So the sensor goes into the illuminated area like this. What basically happens here is this turns this on, so it makes these 2 light up. There you go. So when this one's lit up, our pistons will work. But we need to now have a switch on this one. Now what I personally do is I run a timer, and I run that timer off of here as well. And then I put it back into this side. So it's basically a reset. Put that timer to 3 seconds. Let's have a look, see how that works. And then they close. It could be a little bit quicker. If we put it to 1 second, this is how fast 1 second is. Okay. And that is the basic principles of the door, if you like. Set the timer. The timer says how long the door will be open for. So now we're going to be open for 6 seconds. And it closes. Now the problem is when that timer is on cooldown, you cannot open the door again. So the way that this circuit works, you will not be able to open the doors at all until the timer is finished cooling down completely. Instead of taking from this ore into the pistons, you use a controller instead. So you go into the controller, and then from the controller into the pistons, and we use this to set us up. So now what we're saying is we want these bad boys to open at 3, and we'll do it fast. And we'll set the controller, we'll set the timer to 1 second. So now we go boom, and those doors are open for 1 second. They're open instantly, and then they close as soon as the first bit of the pulse of the timer, there you go, reaches the timer. So I'll put this to 10 seconds. So they'll open instantly. And now they won't close until this line gets here. And once this line hits here, then they'll close. Okay? It's literally that simple. And obviously what this means is you can have really fantastic ways of opening doors running off the controller. So what we can do here is we have 3 and 4 extended up here. And then what we can say we do is we'll run those down at different times. So now if we jump on our door, yep, there you go. So you can have many things happening whilst this timer is cooling down. So if you have bearings and a fancy door mechanism, you'll be able to see that all open up. Pretty awesome. But again, the only issue here is you obviously can't do anything whilst that timer is cooling down because the circuit's just not running. Then if you're on the inside, this is the easy bit, folks. If you're on the inside of your door and you need a way out, you can do one of two things. You can set up the exact same pressure plate on this side, or you can use a push button. And what you do is you literally take however you're doing it, whether it's push button or sensor, and put it to the exact same block, and it'll all work the same. So let's make this timer a little bit quicker. Let's put it to 1 second. So we come home, boom, 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 jump on that, doors open, we go in, doors close, and then we want to get out, push button, and we can leave. The timer is how long your door will be open for. So you could do it for a very long time, or you can do it real quick. It's all up to you guys. But that is the logic around this pressure plate. Now, as you see, I used wood for this pressure plate, but I had to make it a little bit heavier, just so that it works. Otherwise, took that block off. Look, see how it blinks, goes mad. Always remember, if you're having this happen to your circuit, just disconnect it, disconnect the timer, and then reconnect that up in a loop, and reconnect the timer here, and just put a little bit of weight onto your pressure plate and try it again. And there you go. See, it doesn't blink. That is exactly what you want. So what happens if you use a heavier material? Okay, so we're going to use level 3 concrete, and I'm going to do the same 3x3. Okay, so watch what happens. See how the spring's already sunk down? You might just need to go in and just nudge that spring up one. Then once that's done that, hop on, give it a test. Perfect. So for heavier material, you might not need to add the extra block, but you might need to tweak the strength of your suspension. So that is it for the logic for this pressure plate. If there's anything that you need sorting out, drop me in the comments and I'll help you. Now with the bearings plate. Now a couple of you guys suggested what happens if you put the kind of pivot in the middle of the door. So we'll try that, shall we? Now in order to do this, I do know that we're going to have to extend our platform out. So again, I'll use wood just because it's easy to work with. And I will come all the way out. So we have got, I think it's 5. Yeah, so we've got a length of 5 here. So we'll put this full length here. And we'll put this full length here. He says getting in the way. So this is going to be 5 and 5 each side. It's the same principle. You're not going to lose anything. You just need the sensor to pick up the edge that drops down. So it's the same thing. Just because it's even longer doesn't really make any difference to us, in all fairness. So we'll put a sensor here for this one. And we'll put a sensor here for this one. And now obviously we need to use pistons to reset it. Now this might get a little bit tricky because what you've got to do, obviously, when your piston is fully closed, you need it to be behind the sensor. So what we need is like that pipe piece to be there, the piston there. So the piston actually starts there. So it will look a little bit like this. The reason that it's got to be this far back is quite simply, if I have that any further forward, if I have that forward 1 block, so the bent pipe piece would be here, then when it comes to move this side of the seesaw down, it's not going to go down to the sensor because that pipe piece is in the way. So you have to have it kind of that far back. Now what happens, obviously, we can go all the way down so we can activate the sensor. So we're going to need the same thing on this side. And what this does, it's quite simply lets us sort of reset it. Now I am using level 1 pistons. I have tried this, but I don't think the piece that I tried it on was 5 pieces long. But we'll see. So how does this work? What you're going to need to do is have the sensor operate the opposite piston. So this sensor needs to operate this piston and this sensor needs to operate this piston. Then these pistons need to be fully extended. Yeah, and it's not quite long enough. So you got 2 options. Make your ramps shorter or upgrade your pistons. I'm going to make my ramps shorter. I'll take 1 block off. 1 block should be fine. Everything's just got to move forwards 1. So we are sort of now here. And we might be able to reach it. So we've got to take 1 off of there. We should be able to reach it now. So opposite sensor to opposite piston. Opposite sensor to opposite piston. Fully extend it. Hopefully it will nudge it up. There you go. So again, piston, fully extend it. I've left them on slow. I don't think you need to do it any other way. So then the tricky bit is our door. It's not massively tricky, but I ran into a few complications before. So what happened was, I put my piston on the ground floor. Okay. So it was on the bottom level, and this was my door here. And I ran it off of the controller so that we're extended to start with. And then we're here. And what I wanted was to go into an OR gate. Both sensors into the OR gate so that both sensors can activate the door. Now I don't know if this will do it. Yeah. So sometimes it gets a bit tricky. Sometimes it works and sometimes it catches. It seems to be doing okay at the minute. But sometimes it was catching when it was trying to retract. So what I did is I put the piston up 1. So I literally just put the piston up here. And this seemed to make a difference. It made the door slide a little bit easier. I don't know why, because I know that pistons don't have collision. But hey ho. It might be something that you need to troubleshoot. It might not. You guys might be alright. And yeah, it's that simple really. You might need to just crouch a little bit on the door. to kind of get it to open and close. And you do have to be quite near the end of the teeter-totter, or the seesaw, or the pressure plate, whatever you want to call it, for it to work. And it can be a little bit of a nightmare, but that's basically how you do that. It does work. You don't need to make it any deeper. We'll box us in just to show us the full effect. So we're up here, we come in, we crouch down, door opens. Again, it's just a case of getting the right place to crouch down. And annoyingly, it's not reset itself either. So you guys might find, after all, you might need to upgrade those pistons, put a level 2 piston in. It'll go a little bit further down. Let's try it, shall we? So we've now got a level 2 piston. So this will go a little bit further down underneath the seesaw. So it might be able to reset it a bit better. So that is this side. So we come in here, we crouch down, and it's not worked. So give it a whack with a mallet. There we go. Lean on it a bit. Get up a bit. Yeah, so that's got it a little bit better. I like to keep this reset piston nice and slow. But realistically, if you crouch down and you run through your door, you'll be fine. It's a little bit temperamental, but there you go. If you guys need to see any logic around this, I know it's a little bit more complicated, so maybe the people who want to use this kind of have a little bit more of an idea. Let me know. But realistically, it's a similar process to what this guy was over here. So you guys should be fine. Hopefully that helps. If there's anything else that I can help you guys with, just drop me a message as always. I'm here to help you guys. Thank you very much for the ideas, especially with putting the pivot in the middle of the door on this one. I like it. At the same time, I don't like it. Because both of these today, for whatever reason, are acting a little bit temperamental. Neither of them want to work fully. Yeah. It's just one of those scrap mechanic things, I guess. We've got to put up with it and see what we can come up with. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you again next time. Take it easy and bye for now. Bye, guys.